And we are live.
SoundMinds. Let's go.
SoundMinds.
7 p.m.ish. We out here on a
Sunday.
Sunday. Let's
Episode
go.
5, we live on YouTube. Tell your friends they can't get on YouTube, on Facebook. Tell your friends they can't get on Facebook, get on YouTube. Tell them they can't find the address, SoundMindsHipHop.com.
Yes, sir. Let's get into it.
This is the SoundMinds podcast. You don't want to miss these gems. You don't want to miss these gems. You don't want to miss these gems. This is the SoundMinds podcast. You don't want to miss these gems. You don't want to miss these gems. You don't want to miss these gems. No. SoundMinds.
SoundMinds. Shout out to Rashamin, man, for that short version of the dope intro. My brother working.
Peace to the family. Peace to the family. How is everyone? I hope everybody is feeling good tonight, this evening.
We want to hear hope everybody good. Comment live on the Facebook stream, comment live on the YouTube stream, and remember, by the end of this, if you record your favorite 15 seconds to 1 minute, repost it, tag us. We will repost the gem of your day from your perspective. We want to see how you feel, especially since we got 3 dudes today talking about how to treat our queens.
Right. So, I mean, for the most part,
very sensitive topic today, family. I think we definitely got to brief them. Like, we gonna be getting into some, like we gonna brief you. We gotta brief you. This is a topic. We handling this topic, number one, on our own with no guests. We have no special guest today. This is King Ra. This is LiteSkin. This is the Rapoet, Self-Suffice. We are us 3 right here, SoundMinds, in this constellation is about to have a conversation that needs to be had in our communities.
Bars.
Okay? You know, we can have this conversation about queens, treating our queens, is because we are husbands, number 1, fathers, number 2, and we do act as kings and take care of our queens in our household. So that's something that qualifies us in that aspect, and we can get into a little bit more details if you want. You know what I'm saying? We got years on this. You know, we ain't amateurs. You know what I'm saying? Years. We ain't some.
Well, do you want to have really this idea emerged from you? Do you want to give a little background on when you realize the urgency of why we should need to do this episode? This 2-part episode.
Right. So, all right. So
2-part episode.
Rashawn, I don't know which camera I should stare into. Which one should I get? Listen, y'all. So here it is, right? Very important topic, tabooish to the minds of many. I'm going to give the background as to why it even came up and the reason why we chose to do it the way we're doing it. This is the first part. The name of the series is Preserving Royalty. This is Preserving Royalty 1. How are queens being treated? And then Preserving Royalty 2 will have the phenomenal La Bruja, as well as the amazing Jessica Rivera in next week's episode. The background to this topic and reason for discussion, right? There's nothing personal, but for the most part, I seen somebody who celebrated the disrespect, the disgusting demeanor in which a young woman, an elected official, was treated. Right? She was called outside her name. She was called the B word. Everybody kind of knows it. If you know the situation, you know the situation. This is not in any way targeting anybody, but I felt like this conversation had to be had since the first season. But truth of the matter is, it is tabooish and it is walking on eggshells because we are 3 men, and it was kind of like, okay, how do we do it? And then I also wanted, for the most part, SoundMinds to have the episodes that we had, and then the first season just wanted to make sure we could hold down topics, which if you're watching the show, you definitely can tell and know for sure. SoundMinds, not because I am SoundMinds General and not because I am part of the SoundMinds podcast, but truth of the matter is my brothers and myself are definitely holding down topics on multiple levels, right? So then I said, all right, cool. The celebration of a woman being called out her name and disrespected by a male, right? I'm not even going to say a man, a male with genitalia kind of bothers me, especially when that celebration comes from in the form of another woman. I'm not going to get into who the woman was, but I will say that for the most part, and this is not just directly to the woman, but she's not the only one that I've seen doing this. It bothered me even more so that it is a parent of daughters. So automatically in my head, I said, how do your daughters look at you as a parent, male or female, if you're celebrating the disrespect of a female from a male? So then the topic had to be discussed. The topic had to be had. And we are going to get into multiple levels and multiple facets of the topic, but as well as build on cultural rebuild. If you see it, cultural rebuild, we got to rebuild the culture of many levels of many things, right? It is imperative that we understand how important, how detrimental a woman is in all of our lives. Not to mention, and we're going to get into it, every single person breathing, from what I understand, has yet to be born of a man. You don't come out of a man. So that's even more so the reason why a woman should always be represented in the proper light and respected as best as possible. So we're going to get into multiple things. My disclaimer right now, and I'm going to tell y'all straight off the bat, there may be some feelings that get touched a little bit or tickled. Some of my dudes, some of my brothers may sit there and be like, yo, you wallow a little bit, or for whatever it is. But understand that when I'm speaking on this topic, I'm speaking as a man, and I said it on the live. None of us three have a doctor's degree on what it is to be a woman. We can never do that. We are not women. So we're talking about it in the sense of a king. And for the most part, wearing our crowns properly, but also understanding that the crown that is so important on those worn by our queens, all women. So if you're tickled a little bit and you feel a certain way about something I say as a male or as a female, we could definitely have the discussion. And I definitely hope that everybody got their popcorns and their food ready. And let's just have this family, this building session. You know what I mean? Let's get it.
SoundMinds to that.
SoundMinds to that.
With that being said, my brother, let's get straight into it.
Let's go.
Because I want to direct a question directly to you based off of what you just said. You're mentioning a situation of what triggered it. I want to know the specific action that was taken that you call it celebrating, a woman being, called out her name and being disrespected, what those actions look like in particular, so we can nip that, you know what I mean? Let's get
right. to get the crystal clarity. All right. So pretty much when that situation happened, and the person that was called out their name was AOC. She's an elected official.
Right. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez.
Right.
Shout out to her.
Straight up. Shout out to her.
And why in the building.
She was called out by a coward, and I say that very sternly. By a coward, she was called the B word while she was going.
We all agree with that on this side. We all agree that this dude is a coward.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So then I seen, and this wasn't only coming from one female, but the mentality of, yo, this person's a Republican, this person's a Democrat, this person rocks with this certain bill, this person rocks blue shoes and I rock green shoes, and that's all cool. But I just kind of feel like, historically speaking, women have been put on a very negative undertoned light, that when I seen the way it was celebrated it was kind of like posted up on a meme on some, she is a B. And I agree because this, that, and third, and she's so stupid the way she spent. Granted, we don't have to agree with each other. I'll be real with you. Even in this episode today, my brothers and I may very well disagree on certain points, or anybody, our family members, our wives rather, our children. We may disagree on various
And that's
points.
why y'all love this podcast, and that's why we want to see your comments in this. We don't need you on this podcast to be agreeing with you. We just want to open up the conversation in a real way and show we care and we are listening. We don't want to hear what we're telling you to say. We want to hear what we're having a space and not getting a chance to really say in these deeper combos. But if you've been rocking with us, you already know that.
Right. So that was the way it was kind of celebrated. It was, and that's not the only thing I've seen. I've seen multiple women who kind of like, you know what I'm saying, they call other females B words or whatever it is. And it's just kind of like, you know, granted, some people may feel like, nah, they deserve that for whatever they've done and all that. But it's just at the end of the day, I kind of feel like, and we're going to get into it, like I said, man, historically, women have been so powerful, so strength bound, and what they give us in regards to the form of life. None of us would be here without a woman. And especially as a woman, I kind of feel like you need to kind of protect that. You know what I'm saying? There's other things we're going to talk about in regards to the protection of the crown ship. But us as men, I don't even think that's a question. You know what I mean?
So I guess right now what we're speaking about is the actions of men right now. So, you know, those actions of a man calling a woman a bitch. Number one, you don't know her. Number one, you're speaking on the internet about her from this long distance perspective, and just the perspective of just calling a woman a bitch so comfortably, you know, and you know, just that comfortability in it, you know, that's what we're speaking about. I would say, my question is, would you say that falls in line of toxic masculinity?
1,000%. 1,000%. I think not only toxic masculinity, and we're going to definitely get into this as well, but the disillusioned facade of what it means to be a man. And we grew up with it, right? Even, you know, for the most part, when we were younger, the illusion of I show my manhood by simply being intimidating to those that may be weaker. And I think this is a topic that definitely needs to be expressed. And I'm going to say it straight off the bat right now. This is me. This is LiteSkin speaking. Make it a little bit more serious. This is LiteSkin George speaking to anybody. Any of my peoples, man, you may be my brother and all that, man. I'm going to be real with you. If you put your hands on a woman, I can't respect you. You know what I'm saying? Like we may rock out and however we rock out, but if you put your hands on a woman, I can't respect you. And I say that now because right now during this quarantine, the numbers of abusive relationships, domestic violence has been disgusting. It has been disgusting. So yeah, so I feel like toxic masculinity is one reason. The other reason is just delusioned feelings of I'm a man if I treat people a certain way because I got to show that manhood, that alpha. I know me and Ross spoke about that alpha feeling of, yo, I'm an alpha. You know what I mean? And there's various topics of discussion that we're going to have on this one topic, various branches that I feel like we need to kind of like analyze it. And I know many people probably tried this in the past, but this is three men telling you like, nah, fam, this is cultural rebuild. Let's go back to the drawing board.
I want to pass it to my brother. I want to pass it to my brother Self-Suffice, but I want to say this just one idea of, because you mentioned illusion, and the illusion of, you know, number one, the toxic masculine men that show that they can call women bitches like all over the internet or in their free space or amongst their friends because they not being checked about it, you know what I mean, and it's just amongst each other. Like that's also an illusion because it's not real. It's not what's really going on. You can hear it on a rap song, you can hear it maybe amongst your friends, but that's not what you're actually, that's not how you're talking to a female or woman in particular, you know, on a daily basis or all the time. And that is not how they want to be identified. That is not how that is not what they want to be called when you are speaking to them on some regular basis and on any situation. And then when you do say it, they get mad. Then there's a reaction, and then we have the situations that we have, like domestic violence. You know what I'm saying? So it already shows that it ain't right. They show it that they don't want that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that we can still, portray as if this is part of the culture. Why, like, is it because of hip hop? Is it because it's portrayed like it's part of the culture of doing that, even though it's really not like that in real life?
I think hip hop, as well as other many genres of different places, I think we honestly have, historically, we've put women on a certain and though we talk about it sometimes, we don't put them in the pedestal that they belong on, and we don't put them in the pedestal that they deserve to be on. So a lot of times, I feel like the feeling of, even when we were little kids, when you would play with your toys or whatever it was, the female was meant to stay home and kind of like she was the cooker. She bared the children. But we never were taught as of young. You know what I'm saying? And now those who do it, shout out to y'all. I do it the best. And I'm going to give a little scenario too in a minute. But the men were the ones who went out to go, for the most part, go get the food. You know what I'm saying? You're the ones that go to work. Men are the ones who come and provide. And I think it's ever so important, especially when I'm a father of daughters. It's ever so important that my daughters see me in the light of understanding, so that when they're old enough to choose who their mates and their significant others are going to be, they understand, oh snap, I used to see my father cooking. I used to see my father cleaning. I see my father do things that other men or males would say, nah, that's a female thing. You know what I'm saying? Because if that's the case, what we're doing is we're setting all our young ladies up, our young women up, to kind of be the barefoot woman that has always been put into our heads. And one way or another, that cycle needs to finish. That cycle needs to be cut down and shown differently, because as a female can cook, clean, take care of the kids, do everything else and work, so can a male do everything else that a woman can do. And that's where the equality comes about, where when you talk about royalty, preserving royalty, that's when you have your king, your queen, and everybody else who's a part of that kingdom, right? And if you don't have that correctly, and if the man is the king and the woman is the queen, but she's the only one that could clean, having daughters, you need to explain to them, well, I don't want that for you, but this is just how it is for us. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just, kind of how I'm building on it.
One thing that you spoke on, which took it, number one, a step further, a step further than what we were talking about, because we're really just talking about just one aspect of calling a woman out their name. You know what I'm saying? Where on another aspect, you brought it to a foundational aspect, right? Because I asked the question about hip hop because it presents that example of every other song, especially on the radio, is about calling a female the B word. So it's like, but that's still not the reality. But the reality is there needs to be examples like how you just spoke about, or foundations that you spoke about, on how as a man you set this foundation for your daughters to see, and they see that and understand that a man can do this. This is what a man, look, for example, they can say, I don't see my father calling my mom or his wife and his family or aunties and friends bees all the time. That's not every other word out his mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like how it's presented in society. So that's a foundational thing. You know what I mean? And that is the key gem of it. You know what I mean? Like it's about having the proper foundations set for them to learn from. You know what I mean? And decipher from what they're seeing in society.
Right. Self. Let's build, brother.
I mean, y'all know I usually come and talk about some of the extenuating circumstances, right? So let me talk about some of the extenuating circumstances. Let's get deep. We already beyond 6 feet deep. Let's go to 12. Let's go to 36 on this. I would rather my daughter and son know that I may say the B word at certain times, but when they was up to 13 years old, I wouldn't even want them to know that word existed. And if they said Bartholomew or Bishop, I would look at people like, oh. If they said anything that resembled a curse word for their young minds in the unconscious state up to 7 years old, I would pretend I never even knew what a curse was, and I was astounded and moved beyond it. After the ages of 7, especially after the age of 13, I think it is helpful to have these discussions, like both of my colleagues here, these distinguished gentlemen, have mentioned, having conversations with our daughters, with our sons, with our wives about the use of these words. Because as an adult, if you're so purist about it that you can't even say the words, then it becomes a point where you can't even talk about the words. Case in point, one of our sisters on the poetry scene, Sarah Jones, had a poem which was an ode to Gil Scott Heron's "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." It was called "The Revolution Will Not Happen Between My Thighs." In it, she refers to not wanting hip-hop artists, to your point, she refers to loving hip-hop, but not wanting hip-hop artists to call her a hoe. What does the FCC do? Now, I believe at this time, it was the first time a black man was the head of the FCC, which made this even more to LiteSkin's point. When it's our own people doing this to us, is especially painful. But what does the head of FCC do but issue her a fine? And I think it was ridiculous. It was like 25,000 wide because she said the word hoe. But in what context? This is a black woman saying, I respect this art form and I want to speak to my brothers and those who are not my brothers using the culture and say, I don't appreciate when y'all use this word. Let me throw that in the conversation. And she's the one being penalized. So I do think that it's helpful. Both of my kids, I can say, if you have younger kids, this I understand, right? And I think I spoke to that already. But now that my kids are older, I would like them to know that I've used every curse word under the sun, and therefore the fact that I do not use them towards their mother, the queen of their life, regardless of whatever she would ever do, actually means something. This is a delicate thing, but it actually means someone who can use these words quite well and quite poetically goes out of his way not to, right? Because one thing that you're going to have is you're going to have your kids, if you pretend you don't use words or really try too hard not to use words that you might use in a certain context, then your kids are going to rush and find people who use the words because it's just not real to them that they have no reference for the words. But if you could say, yeah, B is this and N is this and blah, 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 and I will never use that word when addressing your mother, once they're at a certain age.
Right, but
women
toxic masculinity,
other.
toxic masculinity is one who does not do any of that. You know what I mean? Does not care for the filter, does not or is not even conscious, and if they are conscious, they don't care. That's why I said that's where the don't care comes from. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's just they don't care. It's not in their mind to filter themselves. You know, that's the toxic part of it. You know what I mean? And we're talking about we're setting the foundation, showing the foundation, literally talking about examples of the opposite of that. You know what I'm saying? And those are definitely the true gems of it. But I definitely want to also make sure we continue to highlight the opposite of that too, in the mix of that too.
Right,
you know?
right. Which is important too, because I think at the end of the day, right, truth of the matter is, again, whoever wants to feel however they want to feel, toxic masculinity is more so can very well be synonymous to a weak man. You know what I'm saying? As much as you feel like, okay, cool, I'm the alpha male, I'm the man because I'm able to put out all these feelings in certain ways, right? The same way that we, throughout history, we have kind of been taught that when a man is able to sleep around with other women, even outside their family, it's kind of like a mode of respect. You get like, kudos, and you know what I mean? You get pounds, and yo, that's dope, man. Yo, you slept with her, you got bodies, that's fire, son. But if a woman does that, she's automatically seen in a certain light of disrespect, in a certain light of unworthiness, right? And granted, and I'm not saying, I think that men shouldn't cheat and women should. I'm saying nobody should cheat, right? And we're going to get into that as well, because especially, again, when you have a family, when you have daughters, especially daughters, karma plays its head every so often. So while you're sitting there and committing certain infractions towards your marriage, right, and purposely, because listen, do people make mistakes? Yeah, 100%, 1,000%, people do make mistakes. But when you're sleeping around, and even with those before us, many of our parents and their parents would sit there and know of their husbands or their fathers cheating, and it was just kind of like, yeah, what you gonna do? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's cool. But if a woman was doing that, automatically, like, mom, how are you doing that? How dare you? So what I'm saying is, at the end of the day, a woman or a man should never be seen any different than any other. You know that you're committing an infraction towards your relationship and your family, most importantly. That's just disrespect to your family. That just shows, like you said.
And again, let's do the chronological etymology on this.
Well,
Underlying a lot of these beliefs isn't just a taboo.
Yes, sir.
It's actual physical trauma. So we know some of the reasons why that is because, and there's places where they still practice this today. We know that when women committed these infractions against their fidelity, they were stoned, killed, tortured, and so forth. And when men committed them, it was like they might be excommunicated or, like you said, saluted, right? So we're really saying the unconscious trauma is there. It shouldn't be that we're promoting anybody doing that. You know what I'm saying? Certainly not. But it's weird when the reason why a woman shouldn't is because we're afraid for her life. And how could you risk your life and you're going to get stoned? That's what our unconscious is telling us in our genealogical history. Whereas with the man, we're saying, oh, that's messed up, son. But let me give you a pound because you caught a body. Right. That's what we're really talking about. Women have been trained through physical pain and torture when they're doing it. They should not do it for the same reason we shouldn't. It's messed up. Try to make your marriage work. That's it.
I like the comment. Definitely. Jess Rivera says, it's interestingly enough, the double standards go both ways, and it's toxic towards both genders. And that is a great comment, and it's 1,000%. Trust me. Specifically though, we're talking
Thank you for saying that.
Specifically though, we're talking about men, and let's talk about behaviors, like behaviors of toxic masculinity that some men carry. It's see, one thing about behavior is you can't say that you're born this way. It's not something that you're born with. Behavior is a learned thing, or it's something that's taught. It's something that's that you've incorporated, embodied into yourself because you've either seen, learned, heard, read, whatever the case may be. And that's an environment, and in your environment it's normalized. So now this is just a normal behavior that you carry out. So this is just something, a characteristic that you even might find like, hey, that's me. I be doing that. Damn. So this is why we gonna say it. Let's read off just something I found online. You know what I mean? Look, it says behaviors of toxic masculinity is extreme self-reliance, the need to do everything on their own, making it less likely for men to seek treatment or reach out for help financially. Shame, disassociation, and avoidance of emotional expression. You know what I mean? Like boys are told don't cry, or leaving with the acceptable emotions aside except anger. You feel me? Like the only emotion you can express is anger. Extreme aspiration for physical, sexual, and intellectual dominance. Devaluation of women's opinion, body, and sense of self. which is what we were just referring to, talking about, calling women bees and things of that nature. Condemning anything feminine within any man, or equating affectionate for another man is being sexually attracted to another.
We're going to talk about that in a little bit. That's a very important one.
It's another example that we definitely going to get into. So these are some behaviors, that go into something that affects our queens. It affects them. There's a cause and effect. The cause is the behavior. The effect is how their reactions and the traumas that they go through after it. Let's talk about it.
And I'm gonna be real too. And so again, shout out to the person that the person didn't necessarily spark the need for this conversation. This need was sparked years as me, growing up, or us growing up, and so on and so forth. I got to kind of put a disclaimer out there, not a disclaimer, but kind of the importance, right? And for any male that feels like, yo, what do you mean, man, queens, or why women are queens, and you will suck her anyway, and I don't need to be talking to you anyway, right? That's just that. But when we say that the importance of, and this is the thing, man, when we talk about slavery, a lot of times, right, we talk about historic slavery, and we talk about how men have been mistreated, how they were castrated, how they were beaten, tortured, so on and so forth. Yes, that is so ever important, right? And even in the Kunta video that we showed the first season, where Kunta Kinte was getting whooped, and he said Toby, and the woman would look at him and was like, damn, man, I don't feel protected anymore, right, mentally. But when we talk about slavery, we talk about men being beaten and all that. We never talk about how women were raped. We never, it's never like in the forefront of the thought process of slavery. Yo, women were raped. They had children that were not theirs. They were objects. The word object is so disrespectful, but so needed to be mentioned, and so much so that we need to speak about that very thoroughly. But they were objects in which, when a slave master decided he wanted to have any fun outside of his wife, who's allowing him to cheat, right? Or they know that the man is cheating. He's cheating with another woman. And it's just kind of like, now you got to have my child. Now you got to. So imagine that thought process, right? So when I hear men.
Combined with the fact that she could scapegoat that black woman who was a rape victim as well, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Even if she didn't want it happening, she knew she could use them as a literal whipping girl to say, right, oh, I'm gonna inflict more pain on you after this man just raped you, because we're both taking our aggression out on you, even if our aggression is for each other's transactions. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
And then you think, so that's historics, right? But now you're thinking, well, damn, I don't know nothing about slavery. I wasn't there. I don't really care about none of that. Heard you. Let's talk biological now. Biologically, a woman carries, and everybody, like I said, till I've learned, science hasn't made it yet. Maybe in a couple of years, science hasn't made it where a man can have a child. Every single body listening to this, watching this, whoever watches, whoever disagrees or agrees, you came from a woman. 9 months at least, 7 to 9 months. And some of us who were born, premature, and other things that were going on, biologically speaking, the woman is so powerful and such a needed strength within our family makeup, our domestic makeup, right? And our foundation. And for any dude, or any female for that matter, for any dude to sit there and call a female out their name with everything that a woman does for us and giving us life. If you have a mother, which you should have had if you were born, or if you have any daughters, we need to start thinking on this wavelength. We need to stop sitting there and being selfish on the sense of, yo, let me go catch some more bodies, or let me go sleep with this woman who's throwing me a little heat right now, this, that, and the third, go outside of my family and not care about the woman that had my children, because that's not important to kind of, in a sense, for me to subdue my selfishness. And so again, if I'm tickling people, and if I'm talking, if you feel like, yo, he talking about me, he know I cheat, nah, I don't care about none of that. If you a dude, man, the difference between a dude and a man is that a man can sit there and be like, damn, I gotta change that. Those are things that I changed. You're not, because you have genitals, because you have a set of whatever you have, does not make you a man or a woman. You are pretty much a male or a female. You become a man and a woman based off of how you carry yourself and how you wear your crown. You know what I'm saying? So if you ain't feeling this, heard you. Talk to me, get at me. I'm cool. Let's get it. At the same time, what I'm saying is we need to change that mentality. We need to sit there and really think about, damn, when we sit with a whole bunch of men talking about, yo, man, I'm about to cheat on my wife for this, that, and the third, and your kids are sitting there and your daughters are sitting there. What are you expecting for that? What happens when a dude cheats on your daughter when she's old enough to start dating? Now, where does the mentality change? Or is it just, yo, shout out to him. He's just doing him.
Are you saying that conversation needs to be had right then and there between each other as men?
I definitely think so.
If you hear your brother seeing or you hear it, you see him or saying this stuff, is this the conversation you gonna have? If you agree with this conversation, like that's what we're saying. That's the
Right.
Are you saying that? Yeah, we're saying that's what LiteSkin saying. You gotta have that conversation. You gotta say,
Gotcha.
yo, well, it's either this. If you feel like she not right for you, then you need to figure out your way of like ending that before you go ahead and do something crazy and break that all up and then it's tragic. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're gonna do this, you wildin', bro. You wildin'.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta be able to tell your boy you wildin'. Chill,
Right.
yo. Like that's
And-
not
and-
honorable.
and that's not even-
That's not honorable.
It's not.
Like,
It's fault.
and look, and I speak that from. I'm not speaking that because I'm a man that hasn't been through the same thing. Nope, I've been through it. Been through it. I had to wake up and realize that I was literally damaging and hurting the women that was in love with me. You know what I mean? Sharing that emotion, sharing that with me, I was breaking that. I was breaking
Hold on
codes.
1 second,
I was
bro.
breaking trust. I was breaking love. Breaking all of that down.
Let me say this. An apple a day keeps a doctor away, but apples all have cyanide. Toxicity and toxic masculinity have something to do with the degree of which we do things. Let's keep that in perspective. Being a man is great. Being anything in the right proportions is great. Part of what we're doing right now is just to start this conversation. We're talking about mistakes we've made and checking our brothers on mistakes we've made. Because just to let you know, a lot of people will not get into this conversation until we atone for it and take us seriously until we check them. So I want to be clear to the sisters right now. We're not going to spend this whole thing talking about the mistakes of men. We are going to talk about y'all. Most of it's going to be about y'all. But I wanted to let you know why it's important for us to do that. And please hear what Ra is saying and what Light and myself is saying, because we're each about to tell you a little bit about things we learned, not to make this about us or men, but to check our brothers and show them and to show you there is hope for people who are being toxically masculine. And then we're going to demonstrate that by shifting the conversation to how you should be treated. So if you're thinking this whole conversation is just going to be about us apologizing, no, this is just a necessary atonement that we're doing before we start talking about y'all taking our responsibility. So I'm sorry, Rob, please continue.
That leads me into this. Just Rivera actually posted a great comment. Expressing any emotions aside from anger is seen as a sign of weakness for men rather than healthily handling the experiences they have endured. This has led to the suppression of feelings, which can lead to multiple ways of negatively releasing them. All right? That's also, let's say that is the cause of a partial cause of toxic masculinity, right? And I want to talk about that because even when it comes down to a man expressing their feelings, you know, now we battle as men all together as when it comes down to expressing feelings. Like, it's a battle. Period. Still to this day with myself, it's a battle. I'm trying to figure out the balance between how to express my feelings, right? So, but when you're not conscious of that, figuring out that balance, you're one-sided on things. And one of that is expressing your feelings in a much more masculine way, or not, like you say, suppressing that to not express it at all, which in turn cause more of an explosion. That's when you get explosions and other things happening, right? So, boom. I want to flip it. I really want to go into the expression of that, because that's called vulnerability. And vulnerability is a double-edged sword with a man when it comes to men. Cause and I have to speak from us personally, because I'm not a female, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. But at the same time, our queens, number one, I feel we deserve, me personally, they deserve a man that knows how to be vulnerable and express their feelings. Okay? But at the same time, a man that doesn't understand on how to work through it, they are caught up in this trap of masculinity because of not knowing how to express, or of suppression. Especially because when you express yourself, a lot of and from due to my research and me personally, I've been through this personally. When you do express yourself and be vulnerable, there is let's say a backfire to that. You know what I'm saying? There's a backfire to that. For example, because women feel that way, it's a sign of weakness. And I have a clip that I want to get into right now that even backs that up. Shout out to Alba and Preach, and shout out to Madeline Nior on the next video that we're going to get into. So this one is,
honesty. Like, there's definitely a time in my life, I would say like 10 years ago, where men have shown, the partners I was with, like, shown vulnerability, and I thought it was funny. And I didn't think it was masculine, and for me it was a sign of weakness. Now, the more I work on myself, then the more that doesn't scare me so much anymore. It's actually strength, you know? Because we're part of the patriarchy. We're just as active in it, you know what I mean? Like, I think, and that's it, we're just participating in that too. But then we're like, yes, there's totally the double standard where we're like, hey, show your emotions. And then when they do, we don't know how to deal with it.
It's that double edge where they want that. They deserve that. They need that. But when they get that, queens, when y'all come on next week, I need y'all to speak on this. Make sure y'all taking notes on this, queens. When y'all come on next week, I need y'all to speak on this. Because this is where now you have a man that's saying, damn, I'm not trying to make sure I come off weak. So then they are stuck in a toxic masculinity space. So I think we definitely need to get into, you know, that conversation of that. We got some comments we definitely got to catch up on. You know what I'm saying? The truth, I've been the nice guy. She doesn't appreciate it. Oh, my brother. This is what we talking about right here. This is what we talking about. Your experience is yours. That don't mean anything about women in general. I mean, but we as men are experiencing the experience of when we do show that side, women don't know how to handle it. And we just also showed an example of that, of a woman saying that.
And I think also,
see, again, I'm gonna be real with you though. If you have a prejudice, all it takes is one example of someone to back it up. There's 8 billion people in this world, and most of them is women. So that's really what the healthy feminism is really saying to us. It's saying we don't know either. Just like dudes don't know what's on the bird of every man. We don't know what other dudes is thinking on our own block. But why is it that in a woman's body we think we can throw them around in this conversation? Why is it that in Black and Latina bodies we think, oh, Black people, and we are taught to do this for ourselves? So a lot of times it is us. It is women towards women and us towards ourselves saying, man, I hate Black people because blah blah blah. No, you hate Black people because it's okay for you as a Black person to say you hate Black people. You don't know Black people anymore. You still trying to figure out who you are. As we talked about, a lot of men is actually males who are still developing into men. So you definitely can't speak on women as a whole. Now, we can't speak on our experiences, but we just need to be more mindful that we are speaking on our experiences. And the funny thing about that too is a lot of times when you think you're talking about Black people or women or men, to those at this level of understanding, guess who you're talking about? You, dear listener. You thought you was talking about this or that or the third, but a lot of times we talking about us and our understanding of these groups.
And I want to build on that as well on the comment, right? So for the most part, I'm taking it. It was a male that I could barely see it, so I don't really see the comments. Is that a male that said that they don't appreciate it?
That they're not that they don't appreciate it. Yes, that
yeah.
women
Okay.
appreciate
So
the nice guy.
And I got to be real with you.
Nice guy.
That is also a stigma that has been put out there and fully understandable. You know what I mean? I've had my share of situations in which you try to do all you can for a relationship and make it work, you know what I'm saying, in regards to being, and then you notice like, oh, she's doing something on the side too. Yeah, 1,000%. That's going to be human nature. That's going to, and that's going to be human nature, right? So at the end of the day, my thing is, I feel for you, brother. I do. As I felt for myself when I went through it. You know what I'm saying? The truth of the matter is that certain situations stained me in regards to loyalty, in regards to trust, that ever since that situation, I started acting accordingly to that one situation, right? But then at the same time, so is, I'll simplify it. So is the thought process. Wait. Hold on a second. Hold on. Let me.
Sometimes when men get hurt, they start trying to take that out on women. Are you saying?
No. I'm gonna clarify right now. So I'm saying in regards to my situation, one or two situations right in life where I felt like I gave trust, I gave loyalty, that wasn't necessarily reciprocated behind my back. So then I started acting different to everybody else afterwards, right? But I'm gonna simplify it to say, I remember many a times that I done stumped my toe on the corner of a bed. So do I now treat every single bed with the same type of fear because of that one situation? And that's the thing, like at the end of the day, I feel, again, brother, I feel for you. You're right, you may not be appreciated. And if you're still in that relationship now, what I would think is, I think you should analyze that situation and kind of figure out, damn, am I being appreciated? And if not, maybe I need to find somebody that does. But what I will tell you is when you find the right person, male or female, and you find that right chemistry, you can only but, especially if you have a family with this person and you're trying to make it work, you can only but respect that family unit. You know what I mean? Because it's no longer about you. Now, if your significant other is not appreciating you, then the discussion needs to be had. Damn, I don't think we should be together. And that's for the most part, relationships most times last or are dead within a certain amount of time, but they last as long as they do unhealthily, just based off of the fact that it's comfort. So you sit in a relationship and you're comfortable. So as is the case with females who stay in abusive relationships, so is the case of females who stay in situations where they know that their man is cheating. So is the case with men knowing the female's cheating on him. And they sit there and they say, well, you know what, man, I know this devil. I know this devil of a situation. I don't want to jump into something else that I don't know and then have to build again. I'm telling you, young brother or whoever it is, for whoever made that comment, I'm telling you at the same time, brother, as we speaking about how our queens need to be treated, you need to treat yourself with a certain type of amount of respect to say, yo, if I'm not being appreciated, then I can't be in this relationship. And so should every other person in a relationship. If you're not being appreciated, you're not being respected, trust is an issue, loyalty is an issue, you need to start making thoughts on what the exit looks like. You know what I mean? And if you have a family, I know it's harder. I'm not saying it's ever easy, but at the same time, if you have a family and you're in a situation in which loyalty, trust, abuse, respect, if those are issues, gotta leave that alone.
Can I now go ahead and turn that to, because you definitely specifically talk to that brother and let him know, but at the same time, let's really address the queens and let them know, listen, if you are in that situation, point blank, period, you know what I mean, where, you know, the man, you see the man cheating on you, or you don't feel, you know, appreciated, you know, especially, you know, he's doing you wrong. Like, the evidence is there. When you know that the evidence is there, and you're not being treated, especially to the up to par how you should be treated, we're telling you it's time for you to evaluate that situation and get out of it. You know what I mean? I give you the power. We giving you the power to do so. You know what I mean? Because that's another thing. Like, people not gonna learn. You know what I mean? I didn't learn until you realize, like, yo mess up just costs your whole everything. Cost you everything.
Sometimes people you love need to be let
You
go
gotta
or
thank you.
get consequences. And what I want to add on into what Light is saying and what Rod's saying, again, being a nerd, you know, I just add these things on. An exit can be a temporary exit. I remember Light knows sound moms growing up in the hood. You know, there was a point where I felt I needed to stay there forever. Like rest in peace, Project. He said, no matter how much loot I get, I'm staying in the projects. I really thought I needed to stay in my mom's apartment forever, and I needed to protect her from the world. And I had to actually get a new thought into my brain, which is that by leaving this house as a man, I'm not abandoning being a son, right? Sometimes being too much around someone enforces the fear that you not being there for them means you don't love them, and you're not there to pick up the phone or come by when they're in need, right? So an exit, forget the abusive relationships just for a moment. Any natural relationship, I'm quite sure my wife does not need to be around me 24/7, okay? I'm a lot to deal with. And my wife is my dream woman, okay? Like, whatever, take that in however misogynistic or noble or humbling way, she is my dream. There's no person that I want to commit to and be with other than my wife. I'm very fortunate in that way. However, I don't want to be with her 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time. And part of the reason is because I want her to learn that I love her whether I'm there with her or not. So, and she'll let you know this herself. Some of our courting took place when I was in another state and she was in a state, and we was away doing our things, right? So taking a break isn't just for abuse and for unhealthy dysfunctional relationships. Taking a break can be a daily thing. Before you go to work, take a break from your kids, from your boss, from my brothers right here. We get on long podcasts, we have meetings a couple times a week. We take a break from each other. It's not because we hate each other. It's healthy to get in some meditation, some visualization, get some time for yourself, and then come back to situations. And sometimes it's just that you needed air and space to not be in a toxic situation. Because again, toxicity isn't always a person or a behavior. Sometimes it's too much of a person and a behavior within a short amount of space and time.
Sound minds, gotta give us sound minds, because you know self-suffice always gotta bring it back to the positive side. You know what I'm saying? We was too much onto the toxic, you know what I mean, going in on the toxic men, you know what I mean, saying that y'all ain't doing it right. You feel me? But let's talk about a little lighter, you know what I'm saying? Like on the regular tip, you
I
know what I mean?
want to
Just
end
for
up this
relationship
segment with
period.
something we
You
promised,
feel me?
bro.
That was great.
Light was talking about, Rob was reading a list of traits of toxic masculinity. When me and Light touched on, shout out to Lucy. Thank you, sister. It means everything that you hear with us. And we're about to really start talking more about the women themselves after this apology. But one of the ways in which we're taught to use masculinity and toxic masculinity is enforcing things and choosing macho. Let's go a little bit deeper into that. Let's be honest. Part of being macho and dominating people is also persecuting, discounting, and attacking people for being feminine. And that comes in the form of the way we say, oh, you throw like a girl. That's a girly thing to do.
Don't cry.
Whether we say that's a gay thing or a homosexual thing, because honestly, we know as normalized heterosexual cisgendered men, when we say gay, what we're saying is a man who is exhibiting what?
Feminine
traits.
feminine behaviors.
It's only one step away, y'all. Follow us. That's what we're saying. And we had to realize, so we're doubly dissing our women and we're oppressing the gay LGBTQ plus community when we're saying those things. Now, did we know? No. Are we responsible? Absolutely, because we've grown mature and we want to have the title of men's and indeed eventually kings. If we don't have to know and take responsibility. But if we do want to be what originally we're told as an alpha male or whatever it is to be the greatest man, if we are on that path, we need to also know you don't get there by making women and feminine expressing people feel insecure around you. You get that way by making them feel more secure around you. They're not around the bully. So quite honestly, we can say that we came out of that. And I'll just speak for myself. I know that saying the words gay, saying the words faggot in a very demeaning way to other people as a flippant joke, not even realizing what that meant to whole communities of people, was a way that an insecure young male version of me was establishing my place in a hierarchy of maleness by saying, you're womanly, you're gay, you're feminine. Therefore, me saying that identifies me as a man and identifies me as more of a man, when in fact, it just identified me as more ignorant, stupid, arrogant, and not exhibiting the very traits of manhood, which is not bullying people and actually standing up for people who are being bullied. Whether I knew I was doing it.
I have a question. I have a question. I have a question because it just clarify it for me, because it sounds like you're saying calling them gay is a bad thing. Well, I understand it was a bad thing. You feel me? But now, isn't that how they identify themselves? That's the G in the LBTG.
This goes to a point that Light was bringing up earlier, right?
It
About
reminds
women,
me of nigga, right? It reminds me of
exactly.
nigga though.
Women saying B, black people saying N-word, right?
Yeah. Or
And by the
B.
way, everybody knows off this call I would say these things, so don't get it twisted. I'm from the hood. I'm trying to be respectful if you got your daughters here. But women saying these things, men saying these within our communities is different. Because if every time you hear the word gay or faggot, and well, faggot is more derogatory, but even a woman can flip bitch into a positive endearment. A black person can flip nigga. Light will attest to this where we grew up.
Or gay.
Thoroughly.
You flip
Every
gay into
time we were saying the word gay, it was never positive. And
right.
that's the thing.
The point is to
think
say
of the word, think
but
of
are
the
we
N-word,
saying that the
okay?
same way as nigga though? The same way we say nigga, like
Negro,
in our community.
Niger, niggas, these are all powerful. In fact, if you go back to the roots of nigga, it actually means God, not only divine, royal, or king, but its roots mean God, right? But
Gay
every
mean happy.
time over 400 years of getting whipped, raped, chased, and hung, while people were saying, yeah, there's trauma that gets associated with those audio frequencies. So it's not actually that gay is a word. It's not always as white people always say, well, what do we call them? Black, African American? What do they want? It's actually about how you use the word a lot, because you're associating trauma, especially the young people who are growing up and learning what a word means. They're learning what that word means through the sights they see when they hear it and the physical associations that they subconsciously have. Whenever we said gay, we said it like, oh, you gay, oh, you gay. It was never that. So even if someone was gay who was raised around us, and I never really thought about this, there may have been dudes who was gay or women who were gay around us that never revealed that when I go back and think about it, because they knew we always said it negatively. If I always say you blue falafel sound like a blueberry falafel. But if we always beating up people and yelling blue falafel, and you feel a little blue falafel, you probably not gonna say I'm blue falafel. So let's take responsibility in that sense
I
for
gotta,
how the words are being said and used regularly.
I gotta also, I mean, for the most part, man, it goes back into that discussion, right? And toxic masculinity, disillusioned power, strength as a supposed man. There was a situation in which 3 transgender women were beat up, robbed by Black and Hispanic men, right? Black and Latino men. And I gotta be real with you, man. I think the strength of a man is one of which, when you understand that even if you disagree with a lifestyle or a person's opinions, that your way of being a man is never to intimidate those that you feel like you could intimidate. So the fact that a whole bunch of Black and Latinos, and how
say
dare
that again,
you
say that again. Rewind, pull up,
rewind selector.
Wait,
So
because we don't want to miss these gems.
Right. So the strength of a man should never be based off of, yo, I can intimidate, I can bully, I can take advantage of this person. So let me show how much of a man I am by showing that test of strength, right? And showing that, okay, cool, I can do this to you because I can overpower. The fact that Black and Latino men are jumping transgender women, right? If you don't agree with the lifestyle, that's your prerogative. Dope. Keep it moving. The strength of a man is, which I don't agree with that. Let me just mind my business, right? But how dare you be Black and Latino and sit here and talk about, I don't know them personally. I don't know who these men were or these dudes were, but we're currently in a turmoil based off of inequality, injustice, the fact that we don't feel like we haven't received our reparations, right? And throughout Black and Latino, we don't get the respect that we need. So Black and Latino men are gonna go and jump transgender Black and Latino women. And it doesn't make sense to me, because my thing is, if you're standing firm on, yo, we deserve justice, we deserve equality, how dare you go and jump or rob or do any harm to people that you feel like, nah, I can do that because this is me being a man and what they're doing is wrong. So I say that to say, have these thought-provoking, this is what we do, this is what SoundMinds is about, have these thought-provoking conversations at home and start to figure out within your peoples and with your men's and who your brothers are, like, yo, fam, if we see this, we may not agree with it. Do we jump that? Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't too long ago. I think it was like last year, man. A whole bunch of young, very young Black and Latino boys, 13, 15, jumped one little girl. If the parents, and especially it was about a good 15 to 17 of them, jumped her, kicked her, took her sneakers. If the parents, especially the male figures in those young boys' lives, have not rectified that by now, what you're allowing, and I don't care, gang affiliation, I don't care about what the reasoning is. At the end of the day, we need to understand that, again, that young lady, that's a straight hell no. And at the end of the day, we need to understand that young lady, God willing, is going to be the mother of somebody else. You have mothers of your own, sisters, daughters, so on and so forth. We need to teach that every single woman should be respected, and then respect themselves. And I think that's something that we can segue into now in regards to what's going on, right? The current time of which, how a young lady could be called the trap queen or a B word, right? And she sit there and be like, yeah, my man love me. My man, he won't put his hands on nobody else. He cheats on me because he loves me. You see him coming back here. But at the end of the day, the truth of the matter is that that's a mindset that has been instilled and drilled in and wrongfully taught to our young ladies. I'd be damned if my daughter sits here and allows herself to be called a trap queen or holds down drugs just to take a charge for a dude just because she loves somebody, or she gets beat and she decides to stay in that relationship in quiet and silence just because she feels like, yo, if I say something, my man's gonna leave me. You should leave him, sweetheart. At the end of the day, if that's a situation you're in, queen, young or old, leave him. If you're not being respected for what you are, which is a queen, you need to get up out of that situation. Find the loved ones that you have in your life and let that SoundMinds. Let's go.
Would you call that toxic? Would you call that toxic femininity?
Yes, because you're allowing yourself to be in a poisonous situation in which it's toxic to you, but because it has kind of, in a sense, been normalized for so many years. It has been normalized for so many years that a young lady or a woman who's in a situation like that is just like, yo, I know about 5 other women.
So we in a crisis. We in a crisis of toxic femininity and toxic masculinity.
And masculinity. Yep. And this is where the cultural rebuild comes up. You know what I mean? This is where we need to learn how to, first and foremost, you can't change nothing you don't acknowledge. You know what I'm saying? And this is
crises are not a negative thing. Crises are a natural part of growth. And that's what I'm saying. Take a break from your loved ones and those who abuse. Take a break from your own beliefs. Recognize when crises are not addressed, that's when it's an issue. When you don't say, this is a learning opportunity.
Right. And this is why I say, like, any dude who's been cheating on his wife or cheating on his significant other female and fam, I'm talking to you now. I'm saying, if that's your queen, and don't celebrate her just for the stripes of it. If that's your queen and she had your children, yo, go apologize to that woman, man. Apologize to that woman for being the sucker that you have been. And if you really a man, then you take this opportunity and say, damn, you know what? I was so stupid for doing what I did, because that's growth. That doesn't show weakness. That's when you're being a man. You're saying, damn, I messed up. And I am so sorry for being who I've been.
Go to the next level. Just like you doing video games and book chapters, go to the next level. You're a newer person. You learn. You cherish those experiences. I recently posted a picture of myself hanging from a tree with my hands as I was cleaning the tree. I had been snipping for about half an hour. Everything was good. But the last one, I decided to swing on the branch because I couldn't get it. And I busted my behind. Now, why did I post it? Because that was a real thing that I grew from. It's not something I'm going to do again. I filled my quota. Like I told David Heredia, Heroes of Color, I filled my quota for a couple months. But it's something I wanted to show. As intellectual as I could be, as nice as I am with the bars, I could also do dumb things and go, okay, I don't need to do that again. Or I could rethink how I'm doing that. But I make mistakes on the way. Okay? Now, when we go to this next part here, I do want to acknowledge something I'm seeing in the chat. So, one, we pointed out that a lot of these things aren't problems in themselves, whether they're the words, whether they're the beliefs or people's preferences. But the problems is that they come from years and years and sometimes legacies of physical violence that's associated with people's identities. So whenever you say, well, I don't know why that's wrong, or it's okay to treat this person, keep in mind, you're touching on trauma that you did not experience. I think we've made that very clear. I want to shout out Lucy. I want to shout out Jessica, who is going to be a guest next week. I want to shout out this brother, Widener. I myself am down to bring him onto the call a little bit later after we cover some of the stuff we want to talk about the women. He says he wants to share another perspective. I'd love to have you engage. If you real enough to bring another perspective and be in a cipher with us, maybe we could bring you on later up. That's really a matter of Light and Ra, because they technically handle the schedule. But I want to say we're getting ready to move on from talking about the male aspect of it to getting more into the heart of specific examples of different forms of femininity and women and how they can be addressed in a healthy way.
Right, you was gonna build on something?
Go ahead, take it away.
Okay. So for the most part, we talked about the disrespect right throughout the years, historically, and so on and so forth. We got deep in a lot of things. Yes, we have been standing straight on the hip a little bit in regards to what males should be doing or what men should be doing. then there's the disrespect of females and disrespect of women to themselves. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of, like I said, given the little analogy or the story that I said in regards to the AOC situation, let's talk about it, man. WAP, right? Or WAP, however you want to say it. My standpoint on the situation is very much this. Going back to the thought process or the processes of women being seen as objects or objectified based off of sexualism, sensualism, so on and so forth. I had a discussion with, my oldest daughter. Shout out to both of my daughters who, we had a discussion, and my oldest daughter, I'm not going to speak upon her opinion in regards or my opinion, but, I had a dope conversation with her. And, for the most part, I think it's very important that we understand, yes, if a woman is being, if a woman is taking something in which they said that they couldn't do back in history, like they said, women can't show shoulder or can't show leg. And then you have these two, beautiful women who are out there at a certain stature who, honestly, I feel like they shouldn't even have to, if they're going to put a message out, right? If you're talking about a message of empowerment, it shouldn't have to come at the expense of sensualizing yourself and objectifying yourself to kind of feel like I got to show my half naked body to make a point. Because truth of the matter is, I'd much prefer, and again, this is just my opinion, I much prefer to see the strength and empowerment of women by having a video where women are owning businesses and teaching other young ladies how to run their businesses and teaching other young women how to be empowered by simply explaining you are not and shouldn't ever be in any way subjected to feeling like you're just a symbol or an object of something when you have so much more power within yourself than just getting half naked. That's just my opinion. It's no disrespect to, the young ladies of Nicki Minaj and no disrespect to, for the most part, Megan Thee Stallion. And I get it too. At the same time too, you're just trying to sell units sometimes too. So maybe that empowerment is kind of thrown there to kind of make sense of it, to justify it. But in this culture,
Yo, Rob, why did like just not say Cardi B's name? You noticed that too, right?
No.
You edited out Cardi.
Yeah, so I say that to say that our young ladies, women, please, if I'm talking out of term and feel I'm talking out of term, by all means, let's speak about it. I don't feel that our young women, our young queens, our young ladies of royalty coming up should look at what they feel should be the standard of what a woman is and say, word, I want to be like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, and I want to make a video and show my body off just to kind of, because it's just kind of like, at the end of the day, it's more of a disrespect than anything else. And you're seen as entertainment. So again, the male population, you know what I'm saying? And you shouldn't feel like you need to be entertainment. You're so much more than that. So no disrespect to them, whatever they did. And I know, listen, man, am I selling units that they selling? No. Do I have the money that they have? No. That's neither here nor there. I'm talking about a certain type of standpoint that if we're going to better our people, we need to do it in a certain way. So, my brothers, let's build on it. Let me know what y'all feel.
I wanna my question that I pose specifically to the queens, is what is the, because we have our reasons behind everything. So what's the justification of the toxic femininity, or is it not seen as toxic femininity? And the only reason why we are categorizing it as that is because it's being displayed in front of the youth, okay? And but I guess you cannot hold it to them for making it. It's really the machine that's behind it, that's pushing it behind the youth, to the youth. And I think that is my main issue. I don't necessarily have a problem with the song itself. Like, I don't have a problem with the song itself. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like explicit music has been being made for centuries. You know what I'm saying? And even if you pull up if you look up, research the video that Cash Flow Harlem did, where he showed you 1930s music and 1920s music, 1950s music.
Hit me with that.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking raunchy. Like
Raunchy. This was your great granddaddy and great grandmama.
The only difference is that it didn't have a trap beat. It had just some horns and some it had a jazz vibe to it. Hey, you mean to tell me they sung those lyrics on jazz? That's what jazz music like. So these are questions and the discussion to have. Like, it's not necessarily new, because then you have a genre of music where men express themselves sexually, and then that music is literally used to engage in that activity. So you can also say that music that you heard, like WAP, is a song to be used to engage in that activity. But at the same time, the problem is that it's being played on the radio. That's the main problem, meaning that any child can hear it. Back in the day, where we talking about that 1930 song that was playing, that woman was singing those explicit lyrics. She was singing that in a nightclub where kids could not go. This was nighttime. You know,
and they would also encode it, right, Rob? Like, our people have a rich tradition of double entendre.
They didn't have like recordings like that.
Talking about a banana and a papaya and a coconut, having a class and artistic tradition where even if a kid did walk in a room, they would think you talking about animals in the zoo or fruits and vegetables, right? We used our intellectual capacity. I do hope, Rod, you can talk
I agree with you, Lucy. You know what I mean? That this, but at the same time, that's also the entertainment. That's entertainment. Those are the entertainments are not getting their fair share. You know what I'm saying? But we're talking about the women that are actually consciously choosing to make the music, not
but look at this
because
other
they see themselves as that, and that's what they represent.
That's true. That's true. But I think it's funny. This next point Lucy's saying, this music keeps the fertility high, right? It's a time and place. Right, and Rod, I wish you could talk about the video you showed me, where the dude's very, very anti-sexually, very low libido-nessly reading the lyrics of WAP like this to point out how derogatory and inappropriate they are. And you and me both looked at each other after we watched it, and we said, well, I bet we know who's not getting the WAP tonight. Right, because he's sitting there thinking he's degrading women, and really there's a time and place. And if you can't appreciate your woman enjoying that mood or speaking those words as a grown man who's not defending this being played around children, but you personally are offended about that, that's another issue.
That's another issue,
right?
But at the same time,
on the mic, follow your lead and say, "Oh yeah,
that's the main problem."
And express that somewhere else.
Right. And I really do think the main problem, especially where that I think it solidifies LiteSkin's point. You know what I'm saying? Where it's literally readily and available and placed, literally advertised. Okay. That's, that doesn't take to the women, because now you speak. What about the queens out there that are not Cardi B? I'm talking about that listen to the song, that not playing it for their children, that literally say they don't play this for their children, but they play it for themselves, and they put it on for the, you know what I mean? Whatever they do, however they feel about it for themselves.
They probably feel free. They probably feel sexy.
I would love the queens to speak on that. I would love the queens to speak on that next week, because instead of us getting into how inappropriate it is, yes, we know it's inappropriate for the children. You know what I mean? And the system, the music industry system that is behind that is the ones that are, preying on our children's psychology to create that type of continue to build that toxic society.
Y'all coined something,
right?
Y'all coined something right now before we go to this next point, yo. Ra and Light, you coined something that I've never heard before. When you talked about the toxic femininity, and when Lucy said, you know, in the past, women were able to do this, but not even bear the fruits or get the coins from doing this, right? When you said toxic femininity, I've never heard this question before. Is toxic femininity when women are allowing and embracing men subjugating them, right? That really helps us frame it. And I hope we could use this more moving forward. It's not whatever a woman does with her body, says about her body, or other women, or speaking on behalf of other women more than she should, more than men should be able to do because she is a woman. It's more the fact that when she does these things, it's what my brother Light was saying. She's doing these things because that's the only way she can get paid. She's doing these things because that's the only way she can be acknowledged. She's doing that way where that's the only way she could compete or even hope to get more money than any man or more attention than any man is if she shows herself, if she's over sexualized. That is a specific point. It's not sexuality itself. It's sexuality that has to be used under the gaze of men and people who view the world as men would like to view women who they are subjugated. So again, I just want to give everybody who participated in this up to now credit for introducing my mind to this concept of a toxic femininity, which is the problem of allowing subjugating men's views of women to be the reason why you're being sexual, to be the reason why you're doing this thing that's seen as a certain form of feminism. If you're really doing it to express yourself in your heart and to have more kids and make your daughters feel free, there's nothing wrong.
There's a time and a place for that, and there's a lane for it, baby. That's all. You know, that's all we saying. Hey, that's all we saying. And that means you don't subject yourself to the toxic industry. You just have your own lane. And trust me, I guarantee it's still gonna be, lucrative. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, but at the same time, but that's not the world that we live in. All right, and we have to just be honest about that aspect. That's not the world that we live in. So at least we can admit, what we can say is inappropriate, but at the same time, and what should not be normalized. That's not normal. We're saying it to the young queens and the queens out. That's not normal. That should not be normalized. And
So case study number one.
To my understanding, from my own asking around, from young women to young queens, teenagers, even younger to preteens. They literally would tell me that they listen to this music, and as I ask them, and they can literally say, I don't want to be like her. I don't want to be like that person in that music. I just like the sound of it. I like the sound of it. It's catchy. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, it's played all the time. So, and that's what everybody likes. So let's say they understand it in that narrow aspect. And they're not looking to be like that. And I feel like most of the young queens are like that in this generation and the younger generation. You know what I'm saying? I think we gotta have a lot more faith in them, even though it's all put out in their face. You feel me? It's the same as the little boys. You know what I'm saying? You'll think that the boys would be super overly crazy, but I mean, because it's just so easy access.
Shout out to Megan Thee Stallion. Shout out to Cardi B. Shout out to all the women out there who are expressing their own form of being a human being. And ultimately, on this case study we just covered right here, we recognize feminines need to just say, I'm a human. If you have a problem with me, treat me as a human.
Was I going too long?
Who said that?
All right, I'm damn. Like,
yo, who's in the comments saying that?
I was wondering if I was going too long. I was just asking.
No. Point them out, bro.
I think what Nisa B said, right? As I'll be the first to tell you that Black and Latinos are subjugated to believe and to be seen as whenever anything happens negative, right? And we always did the comparisons when you see a news report and a Black or Latino person kills people, they say the thug, they say the this, that, and third. But when, you know, a person of European descent or, you know, a Caucasian person kills a whole bunch of people, disturbed child, disturbed teen. Here's what I'm saying. With WAP and other forms of that, the trap queen music and that. So what I'm saying is, it's not only coming from women to women, it's also coming from dudes to women. We need to fully understand that our young queens are being targeted to be sensualized and sexualized so that they can continue this money flow. As they say, sex sells. But we don't see the same sexualism and sensualism for men as we do for women. And I think it's at a point now where, you know, not for nothing, but I know we live in a different era, but you won't see two straight men, you know, naked around each other or half naked around each other to say, you know, the opposite of what WAP is, right? All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, our women should not be objectified or subjugated to the fact that they're objects. And let it be known that our young queens, our young babies, our little babies, truth of the matter told, apple bottom jeans or other jeans, it is scientifically proven, right? Real estate proven that jeans were being made at a certain weight or a certain form so that young ladies' bottoms looked a certain way in them, where they were, in a sense, made to be enticing to sell. And every jean looked a low-cut jean in the back and so on and so forth. So these are things that have been tried throughout. You know what I'm saying? So when I'm speaking in regards to what a queen should be doing to show young queens how they should be raised up and doing things, all I'm saying is, let's keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? And I think at the end of the day, it's highly important that, especially if it's us, if it's ours, that we given that rightful message.
I'm glad you said that, which brings it back to a foundation, my brother. At the end of the day, my children know about this music, but they're not gonna choose to listen to this music. They're not. They understand what the music is being talked about, and they don't want to be like this music. They are not going to embody those characteristics of it. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? They have the consciousness. You have to lay the foundation to raise some conscious children. You know what I mean? Especially in the world that we are in today, that we're talking about, that we're in a crisis of toxic masculinity and, to the looks of it, toxic femininity.
I love that, because we know that our children, anyone who's a parent knows things differently than anyone who's not a parent, because there becomes at least a point in time after a few years after the age of 7 or at least 13 where you realize your kids are not learning from what you're saying. Okay, they're learning a lot from what you're doing, and they're always more sensitive to the feminine and to the mother. So if they know that daddy's making mommy feel a certain way, free and sexy and beautiful in a non-negative way, then they know that mommy's happy, right? And that means we're doing our job. That's one of our jobs as our partners to their mothers. So
that's a good point.
So if we know, like, if my wife puts on Little Kim or WAP or one of these songs, I need to make sure that she's putting it on because she feels sexy and fun and safe with me. I need to not know that she's putting on because she thinks she needs to do that because she happens to be connected to me and I'm this man that requires her to
SoundMinds.
needs to be clear that I'm a man that wants her to feel that. So that's a good segue to Candace Owens, okay? And one of the things when we brought up Candace Owens, for those who don't know, she is a Black woman. She is a queen, which we're about to talk about. And I said some of the things that really get on my nerves whenever I see Candace, which mostly comes from the fact that I want to root for her as a queen, but I feel what she does is so harmful to Black men and women, and my daughter who's looking for role models of Black women. So, you know, my brothers both made sure, and I didn't even say it, but I'm gonna just let y'all know the character of my brothers and how we check each other. They were like, yo, be clear that she is still a queen though, be clear. And I was like, I'm not taking that.
Now I said she could be. I don't know her personal life, but I said she could be a queen despite her. Yeah.
Well, that we said that based off of, are we gonna get into the fact of, is there a difference between queens and women that are not queens?
And I do think there's a maturity factor, as there is with a male becoming a man, becoming a king, and so forth. I do think there's a level of maturity. However, I look at Cardi B as a queen, regardless of where she is. I know she has a man who she is working on building a relationship with, which is hard. I know she has children, which she is working on building a relationship with and providing for and guiding them. Her whole life isn't the 5 minutes you see in her entertaining videos. Okay, so I know she is a queen of her castle. And if we looked at women as holistic queens and not just the 5 minutes we see them in the video, then we would say, oh, I don't like that, but I'm not discounting her whole life. Lucy said no, right? I mean, we feel a very particular way.
But there's some people that would say no, they would disagree with what you're saying, with saying that Cardi B's a queen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
so
yeah, what do we say about that? Is that toxic though? Is that toxic to say that?
Wait, to judge her, clarify, to say what?
Is it toxic to judge her and say she's not a queen based off of what you see on the internet?
Yeah, because it kind of says a queen don't have a toilet to go to at least once or twice a day. It kind of says a queen can't curse and express vulgarity if she's having a hard day and she's holding the weight of the queendom and the kingdom on her shoulders. It's like a queen, Michelle Obama, who your mama, whoever it is, can still be a queen and go through the same physical flesh and temptations and problems that a king can go through, or that frankly any human being could go through. And mind you, our crowns are not physical, and that our gems and our crowns are mental, and our crowns are spiritual. So we're talking about the holistic being. How can you take away the spirituality? And that's what I want to segue to King.
You can't take it away from nobody
if
they have that.
They may be a different
that spirituality
in the development of their queendom, right?
Yeah,
you can't take it away. So going to Candace Owens, right? I want to point something out. If you look at the flyers, when you zoom out, Rob put some artwork up on our videos. You're gonna see the artwork. You could also check our flyers on IG if you want to, and our Facebook, SoundMindsHipHop.com. But you'll see two women that we highlighted on the flyers was Amina Torre, who is a Nubian Kandake of Kush, which means basically a leader, a chief, a queen. These women ruled dynasties that went for hundreds of years. Not this American stuff where they talking about, oh, maybe Kamala could be VP, maybe Hillary could be president. We talking about women who ruled dynasties and left legacies of women ruling hundreds of years in Africa, even before Egypt and Kush, and the dark skin and the most gold populated. Do your history. I'm not going to get too far into it, but that's what a Kandaki was. And a Mansouri, who you see on the flyer, she's a Kandaki. We also see Ana Kawano on there, who was a Taino Kasisa, which was also a chief in these lands that we're on right now, particularly Hispaniola, which Columbus came and supposedly discovered. When he came, he had to negotiate with the chief, Ana Kawana, who was a female chief, who was one of many Kaisisas, right? Female chiefs, which our indigenous African and American people had traditions of respecting women and looking to them for leadership. So how are you going to say this is a new concept in first of all? But I wanted to say this. Candace Owens, Kandake. Candace, Kandake. We tend to think, even I was on a Pan-African panel, this woman said she went back to Tanzania, met her grandma. Her grandma's name is Keisha. We tend to think these words Candace and Keisha are, oh, that's ghetto, or that's hood, or that's American. No. There's some unconscious part of us that is recalling. These are ancient names, okay? These are names of our ancestors. And Candace comes from Kandake, and Kandake means a queen, a woman ruler. You can even find it in the Bible. So how ironic is it that our sister, that the queen, Peace, Songbird, love you. I was just, you've been banging the Cambada album, was just listening to In the dark, there's some light. In the black, there's some white. In the wrong, there's some right. You sing it a lot better than me. I'm just saying we a fan of that. That's kind of what we saying. Even in the Queen, there's some toxicity. It doesn't take away from that. What do y'all want to say about Candace? Because that's what I want to say. She is a queen, and I respect her as a queen, and that's why I challenge her on her power and how she's using it. But I don't challenge her on being a queen, because she is a Candace, and she comes from the lines of Kandakas and strong African queens.
Can I say something first?
Yeah, go ahead, bro. Yeah.
Mine is very short. I don't even need to expound on what I need to say. You know what I mean? Because I really don't know too much about her. Only from what I've seen coming on the news and things of that nature, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And let me say her energy and how she comes. I just read off energy. And her parents, okay? She is a strong black woman, okay? A strong queen with toxic masculinity.
So bro, you finished?
Go ahead, like I was the mic drop.
Done.
So here's my my take. Queen or not, I can't speak on. I don't know her personally. I will say, even if she is a queen, right, in her own rights, with things that she does outside of the political sunglasses that we see her in, she's an idiot. And straight up, when you do things that hurt your own, I can only see you as the puppet that you are. You know what I'm saying? So in the sense of when you're doing things, and we've had a lot of people that have done that to our own, you know what I mean? And made us look crazy and don't really speak for us. So queen or king and how you rock your crown is one way. But nonetheless, there are others, or many of us, who physically represent us because of how they look. But at the same time, when you're toxic in the message that you're putting out for ours, and when you represent something that is hurtful to ours, queen or king, you're a puppet. And I think that we have that a lot. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, man, however lawsuit or not, man, I think, we expressing ourselves. Kanye West is an idiot. And I know that he has a power within himself to be a voice for many, and he's using it in a very negative tone. And now that doesn't mean that I'm not listening to College Dropout and all the gems that he used to spit through that when he was saying certain presidents didn't care for us and so on and so forth. But I also know, just like with WAP and just like with whatever, there are ways to make money just by simply sacrificing your people.
No. But no, he's a king with toxic femininity.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is whether Candace Owens was a male, female, tall, fat, skinny, little person. So it doesn't really matter. Her message and what she's doing to our people just makes her outright a puppet. You know what I mean? So I can't even speak upon whether she's a king or a queen. I mean, I don't know her personally. Again,
SoundMinds. I think if we were to attack her in a certain way that we wouldn't want to see any woman attacked because of whatever she says out of her mouth, if she's not physically attacking another woman or man that needs to be protected, God forbid, then we may be demonstrating to the youth. And I also want to say a lot of this does have to do with young people.
Well, I don't think what I said attacked her at all, by the way.
No.
Right, yeah. I don't think we attacked her. I just think like I said, that's why
you called her an idiot.
Yeah, based off of the message. But that's why that's why right.
I heard that part.
That's why I right after that went to saying Kanye West. You know what I mean? It's not about male or female or man or woman. I just feel like if you're a puppet, you're a puppet. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't say that she's an idiot just because she's a woman.
After this conversation, I will not call Candace an idiot. I will not belittle her intelligence or her queendom. If I do, it's a slip up and a mistake on my part, and I might do that as I'm working on this, but I should not do that. And if I do that, I feel I'm wrong for that after this combo, and I'll tell you why. Because I need to be able to challenge her, right? If it's an intellectual thing, then I can't just say, well, you're not intellectual enough. I need to be intellectual enough to find a way to point out her intellectual flaws, as T.I. did. If you go and see the debate with T.I., they didn't call her out her name. They challenged her on her points. So what I think is a lot of this about vulnerable people and children, right? Because we can, if you're a king and a queen, you just look at other kings and queens as people, as your brothers and sisters, and they have their faults and their beautiful moments and their bad, right? But for young boys and girls, what we're saying is you're not going to see us talk to any woman like that, because ultimately they don't have the complexity of knowing that this woman was being attacked physically or mentally because of blah, blah, blah. They just know it was okay to attack a woman. Same thing with the boys. So they feel that it's okay for people to attack them internally. Same thing for boys. They're learning that it's okay for them to attack women. So I think that's really where I want to leave it with Candace before we go to the next topic. I want to say we're saying there's a limit to how we would treat any woman, because she is a queen in some phase, and other girls are looking up to her in some way. And no matter what she does, there should never be a time where they see us disrespecting a woman.
But at the same time, but that's why I made my statement based off energy. See, I always view perspectives from an energy aspect where it doesn't personalize. It always speaks off what is being delivered, the energy that is being delivered. If I read the wrong energy, I read the wrong energy. But at the same time, I'm rarely ever wrong. Anyway, let's go.
Yeah, and I think for the most part too, just kind of to clarify, that's why for the most part, my comment of her being an idiot has nothing to do with her being a woman. It's just her being a conduit. She's being used as a conduit for puppeteerism, where it's just kind of like you're doing something to hurt our people, your own people, and whether she was a male or female.
Are idiotic.
There you go. Thank you, Lucy. You know what? I'm going to say Candace Owens is not idiot. She's not an idiot. The messages in what she put out and the way she is representing or allowing herself to be represented by the stuff that she's doing is very idiotic.
That's how you display. This is how you display real growth man shit on how to. Man stuff on how to treat the queens. You feel
Thank
me?
you, Lucy.
When you recognize it, just small things, right?
Right. Yeah. And you know what? And I'm gonna say,
Megan Thee Stallion can do that song. That song is not all of who they are. Candace Owens can be idiotic. We've all certainly been idiotic.
No, say it.
And idiot is not what a woman is or what her whole existence is. So that actually is a great segue to Jaguar, right?
Oh, wait. Well, so I will say, in the interest of our conversation in regards to vulnerability, I will say that was a vulnerable moment for me, just based off of the fact that when the name popped up, automatically I thought with my emotions and said, "Hell, what she's doing is stupid." So
salute, my brother. Salute. SoundMinds to that right here.
You heard? That's
so
real.
Now Kanye West is an idiot. He's idiotic too for what he did, and and I think for the most part, man, I think we're emotional beings, man, and I think when anybody, I don't care who it is, man, if you're hurting ours, man, I don't know how you looking in the mirror. And granted, all of our opinions are going to be based off of personal experiences and individual thought processes of what it is that makes us, and that's totally understandable.
Wait,
man.
before we get to Jaguar, let's highlight that point. I like that point in bold
But
because we talked about this last week with our brother Shice, right? We had to put the disclaimer: if you're a preacher, a police officer, a teacher, there's certain things where it's not just about someone having a problem with us. It's someone we look up to, someone who has a license to kill, so, that type of thing, right? Same
right,
thing here. There's a lot of things where when a woman hears or sees a man doing it, it's different than another woman. And when a man sees a woman doing it, it's different than them saying. For instance, if I say Kanye's an idiot, it's different than if I say Candace is an idiot. If Lucy says Candace being idiotic, it's different from her saying these dudes out here is idiotic. Because
right.
yo, thank you, Rodney. Appreciate you being on here, man.
I
We
definitely
gotta
agree
try to
with
put
that.
you on for part of the discussion.
I agree with that because look, he got a problem. Come see me. Like, look, I'm sorry, toxic masculinity coming out.
Well, look. When a woman says the B word or whatever she says about another woman, it's implicitly not suggested that she's saying a statement about women in general and that her identity is above that in general, right? And that we need to act differently in order to find a mate that we're allowed to get with. And that's always going to be implied. Remember that as a king when you're referring to any woman. Remember that as a queen when you're referring to any man. You're not talking about someone within your identity. You're sending a cue to how those people who want to get close to you should behave, whether you like it or not.
And I think real quickly too, and I think it's very important that I state this, right? Because you know, as the world is where it is now, I think it's very important to also state and clarify. LiteSkin did not call Candace Owens out her name. Being an idiot is very universal, you know, doesn't matter what the sex is. If you're doing things that are carrying, you know what I mean? So yes, I will say out of respect to women, because I'm very respectful of all women, I will say idiotic just for the sense of, damn, I feel bad coming and saying she's an idiot, right? But at the same time, idiot is not necessarily made for man or woman. It's just, that's why I said Kanye right after. But I ain't going, you know, I think, yes, the way she's carrying herself is very idiotic. And
Nah, you could, because you, nah, I don't agree with you, my brother, because you could say the same thing about bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, because idiotic.
Bitch is not male or male or female. Bitch ain't male or female. You a bitch ass nigga or anything like that.
No, yeah. That's why. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. But at the same time, the B word, right, is always been derogatory towards females, where it's just kind of like when you call. So when I say it to a dude, if I ever say it to a dude, if I hear it my way, I'm trying to knock your whole block off. You know what I mean? But
it's derogatory.
Right.
Yes,
That goes back to
that's
what I was saying before. Part of what you're saying when you say that to a man is, and again, we didn't know this as young boys, but part of what you're saying is that there's a feminine part of you. So really, you're dissing women even when you're dissing men. So that's kind of it is kind of loaded more towards women in a bad way.
Yeah. That's why. So that's why idiotic, I say, is very neutral. But I won't call the sister. I definitely won't call the sister an idiot. I apologize for that. And at the same time, equal opportunity. I won't call Kanye West an idiot. I'll say that the stuff he's done is idiotic. You know what I'm saying? So I'll keep it very neutral.
Question. I got a question now for both. I got a question now for both of y'all. For the sake of time, can I ask you a question? How queens should be treated? Can you give me an overview of how queens should be treated? Can we answer that question?
So I want to touch on that's a great way to get to these last points. Jaguar, right? Trans women, AOC, who like brought up earlier, La Bruja, who you're gonna hear a lot from next week, and Jessica Lynn Rivera, and my sister Lucy, who you see every week in the chat.
How you gonna get into everything that you just said for the sake of time?
The constellation. I want to say, I'm just gonna go through Rod, to your point, to King Rod. I'm gonna just go through that answer to each of those, okay? How should we treat queens in those rather than talk about them as individuals, although they deserve that respect? That's for later, okay? Boom. Now I'm being challenged, so I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm probably gonna mess it up a little. Jaguar Wright should be treated as someone who is dealing with some type of mental challenges, as many of us are, sometimes of drug-related challenges, as many of us are, but is not any derogatory word, is not no less than any other man or woman for the challenges she's dealing with. Whatever you agree with or disagree with her, whatever you know about her backstory, should be treated as give her the time and space to say what she is saying from her perspective, and then you can analyze the facts of it and how you interpret it differently. That's for Jaguar Wright. For trans women, okay, they should be treated regardless of what your personal sexual preferences, what your personal gender is, what your history is with the LGBTQIA community in general. For trans women, they should be treated as people, they should be recognized as people who are under threats of physical, mental, and emotional abuse and violence more than average. And they should be treated as people who are also a signal to how we protect femininity. Because as we revealed, even though we didn't realize it as young boys coming up, as the kings we're coming into, we realize now the way we address men exhibiting feminine features, gay men, gay women, people who are more fluid in their gender than the cis or heterosexual, and trans women and trans men also reflects and belies what we think about femininity in general. So if we are respecting our queens, we need to not just dismiss trans women as anything less than humans and anything less than provoking us to reveal what we really think about femininity. Because ultimately, that's what we're saying. If we hate trans women, on some level, what we're saying is you're a very bad man to go from physically being a man to physically expressing as a woman, even if you most spiritually and emotionally relate to being a woman. What's the crime there? You being feminine and expressing and letting the world know you're feminine. That says something about what we think about our queens and our women. AOC, I think we need to, and I honestly think this is part of what sparked this whole episode. I tip my hat to AOC. I tip my hat off to AOC nominating Bernie Sanders. I think there's a time and place to vote for the third party candidates. We have to be strategic about that. But it's easy for me to get along with her views more than Candace. But in the same way, I'm proud of this queen. It's good to see a queen out there that challenges me to be more respectful and check my assumptions. But it's also good to see a queen who just I rock with and I know is standing up. And then I would love my daughter to see articulate things better than myself and my wife could at times. So we salute you, AOC. La Bruja, queen all day, multifaceted. And La Bruja is a perfect example of everything we talked about. I've seen her as a rapper, a singer, as funny, as entertaining, as listening, as facilitating, as a woman's advocate, as a man's advocate. It's great to see a queen who is using her queenship graciously. She could be dissing a lot of people with that queenship, and she actually uplifts us. Jessica, perfect example of someone who I've never met before. And as I've started to do research on her and see how she portrays herself, she doesn't have to be so gracious, and she's sharing her queenly character with all of us. I want to tip my hat to her queenship and say thank you for your graciousness. Not because you need to any more than my wife needs to wear anything to make me feel sexy or whatever, but the way that when a woman shows graciousness and you feel like it's genuinely coming from her herself, it's just so refreshing. Did I do it?
That's energy right
Okay,
there, baby. That's right. That
yeah, that's a lot of energy. Yeah.
Sound minds to that, man. That's queen
Sound
energy that he
minds
just
to
talked about.
that.
What about you?
I will. So I am going to go into what I feel how a queen should be treated. I will also say that out of all the people that or all the kind of the topics that Self just talked about, I will say the Jaguar Wright situation is a little touchy just based off of the fact that I don't believe that so here's what I'll say. Jaguar Wright's situation and everything that she speaks about, if true, and I don't know because I wasn't there. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I wasn't there for the experiences that she speaks on. Talks real solely on queenship and how queen should be treated. And if the things that she said about everything that happened with some of the people that she named, very disappointed in those people that she named. And at the same time, I also feel like, again, that's part of the growth or the wrong learned growth of what a man can do and what he should be doing to a female. And if all the stuff that she had to endure is right, or what she said is correct and true, it's disgusting. You know what I'm saying? And these are some of the people that I kind of looked up to in regards to, damn, man, I loved this person for what they did with hip hop and the culture and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, drug related or mental illness and all the things that she probably endured on that aspect, I think it's very important that if it is real that what she said, that we pay her respect in regards to those things that she said and exposing and exploiting, not exploiting, my fault, exposing some of the true things that was going on. Again, I wasn't there. I don't know. You know, and if it is true, man, shout out to her for speaking the truth. You know what I'm saying? I think all women should be able to do that. So I'll just say that. I will say that the way a queen should be treated, as I said throughout this whole podcast, this episode, trust, loyalty, protection, respect, put on a pedestal. These are all things that I think about when we speak about queens. And if, for the most part, if you're not a queen, then, or you don't feel like the person you're with is a queen and deserves all that, then, you know, you got to check yourself in your relationship and all that. And as I said, what I will tell you is no woman should ever be objectified or subjected to feeling like they're an object or just based off of sexualism and sensualism. We shouldn't sit there and and in 2020 still be able to pat each other on the back as men and say, yo, word, son, yo, she look good in them jeans. Let me get into that. Knowing you got a wife and child, probably in the same facility of what you're speaking about, the woman that you're speaking about. Like, all I'm saying is at the end of the day, if anything out of this episode is sticks to your ribs, let's respect our women, man. Let's respect our queens and let's give them the proper light in which they deserve to be, man. And for the most part, if a queen is in a situation that is toxic, and she's being taken advantage of, and she's being cheated on, and she's being abused, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, queen, all I can ask you for is respect yourself enough, and especially if you got daughters, respect your daughters to break that cycle by simply getting out of that toxic situation. Don't worry about hurting a man or finding another man or comfort or any of that. Just worry about the fact that your children, and if you a dude and you got daughters, respect your daughters enough, respect your sons enough to teach them what it means to treat a woman correctly, respectfully. And if you're not doing that, then I would ask you to question yourself if you really are a man. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Because as men, as far as I know, as I was brought up, a true man is going to teach you how to be as a young man, to become a true man when you get that age. Or he's going to teach his daughters what a true man looks like so that she can be the queen that she is and respect herself. So with all that being said, queens should always be respected, always be spoken truth to. You know what I'm saying? And compliments is very big, man. If your woman is beautiful, or if you feel like your woman is intelligent, or you feel like your woman is powerful, or you feel like your woman is strong, or you feel like, damn, Ma, thank you for what you do for this family unit. Thank you for what you do for our village, because you mean that much to me, but even more so, you mean that much to our children. And I need to show them how much you mean to all of us so that they can respect you the same way. And for them dudes who ran off and left children to raise children on their own, I can't, and I get it. Certain situations are what certain situations are, man. But as a father, as a man, you need to be there. You need to help your village. You need to help your wife. And if you can't be there physically because you two just don't work together, then that's dope. Don't leave your child behind. And, you know, I know plenty of men and women who things don't work out, and they still are parents. When you forget to be a parent just based off of the fact because a woman is so easy for leaving a single mother and so on and so forth, that's when we need to start questioning ourselves. So I'm not going to get into, I've already gotten deep. Respect our queens, respect our queens, and let's break the cycle of what it means to disrespect a woman so closely. You know what I mean? So my fault, y'all, for being so long-winded, y'all. But SoundMinds.
Nah, no problem.
No, SoundMinds.
Yeah, I just blacked out.
Spoken.
I forgot I was on the podcast.
That was a real moment, right?
You was spoken like a true OG, man. You know what I'm saying? I wanna wrap everything up that you guys were saying into just some points that I wrote down. And Ian intertwined this question that our brother just added in the chat. Do you think women are meant to serve men? And I'm gonna tell you right now, no, they're not meant to serve men. That like the word serve is a specific word that means, in a sense, a line of slavery. You know what I'm saying? And
damn it, bro.
Just a specific word of serve.
Brother.
Okay, so no, that is, but at the same time, that is an alpha male's perspective. Most alpha males that's out there that they say it's my way or the highway. You know what I mean? That perspective, and that is we don't do that over here. A real man, how a queen should be treated, I would say. We do everything that the alpha male won't do. You know what I'm saying? Won't and don't do. Okay? You have compassion for her. You swallow your ego for her. You protect her heart and soul. It's not just about the physical, protecting the physical. Also her heart and soul. That's when she's bearing her heart and soul to you. She didn't gave that to you. You have to protect that. Okay? Connect with her spirit. Okay? Understand the energy she actually carries. You feel me? What type of energy she carries? Is it balanced, masculine and feminine? Is it more feminine? Is it more masculine? Things of that nature. Connect with the energy within her. Understand her mind and her body. You feel me? Now that's a statement of understanding the fact that, listen, she's going through everything that she's going through, her own insecurities, her own issues with her own self, her own doubts, her own growth spurts. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to understand that within her mind. And on top of that, that connects to her body. She feels certain type of ways about her body, but you got to make sure you ain't shaming her and making sure she need to be looking like some Cardi B or somebody on goddamn TV or something like that. Okay? Another thing, lead with love, not your ego.
Hold on, bro. You
lead with love.
Slow down, bro.
I'm almost done. This is the last one. Lead.
Take your time. Breathe, brother. Breathe, brother. They never heard this before, Ken. They never heard this.
SoundMinds. Lead with love. Not your ego or masculinity. That me, I have to feel like the man aspect when I speak to her aspect. You feel me? That I gotta feel this way before I even no, lead with love. That's the feeling you lead with. Okay? And last but not least, communicate with her. Communicate with her. And that is how we should treat our queens. King Ra.
Yo, if that wasn't mathematics right there, and I want to add on to that.
Yo, y'all both blacked out.
Support your queen the way you want your queen to support you. And I say that because us as the male species, right? We a lot of times we have these passions and we have these things. We want to be part of a bike club or we want to be part of whatever it is or MC group or whatever. And we'll sit there and be like, yo, ma, I need your support, right? Or we just expect it. It's an expectation of such where it's just kind of like, yo, I'm gonna do this, and that's what it is. And then when our queens have a passion, or they want to do something, or they have an opportunity, we hold them back. A lot of times is based off of the fact of our own insecurities of not wanting our queens to shine more than us. That's another phenomenon we got to talk about, right? But
that's a heavy one too. That's
a big one.
Yo, that's called for a topic of insecurities in men.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, damn.
And so because part of that is we think that women don't want us to let them shine more. So it gets very complicated.
No. Don't get into it.
Complicated.
We gonna have a whole podcast on that one.
That's season 3. That's season 3, the whole season.
Go ahead. Keep going.
All I'm saying is, yo, be there to support your woman, be there to if they have an opportunity that may better you and your family unit, but more so betters them and their passion of what they want to do in life, support that. Because we very often individually, not only male or females, but more so males, we very individually always feel like, yo, I'm 55 and I want to play softball with my boys and I want to chill. And then when your lady says, hey, I want to join a book club, or I want to start this own business, you ain't even there being supportive for them. All I'm saying is, yo, trust, man. All of us, men, women, all equal, right? We should all be equal, not one above the other. So whatever you expect from your mate or your significant other, please give that as well. Respect, loyalty, support, all that is not a male or female thing, and not one or the other should get it more than the next. And especially if you have children, trust me when I tell you, the cycle does not get broken or for letting it recycle itself. So
can I respond? Let me respond
please.
to Lucy real quick. Lucy, definitely understand your point on this comment right here, right? But guess what? We just spent an hour and a half going through the toxicity that we display that we need to change. You know what I mean? That's the internal. That's the holistic battle that we need to address. Yes, first before we get to this ending that we got to at the podcast. We're talking about really the true
that's something I don't think a lot of men and women understand. And I want to thank Rock because he's pointed this out several times, not even just in humanity, but in animals and even inanimate objects. What we describe as masculine and feminine traits could apply to rocks and gases and elements of nature. And we've been trained because of our insecurities to make masculinity be all about someone who's born with testicles and femininity all about someone who's born with the ovaries. So like Rod's saying, I want to underscore that to a lot of us guys, Lucy, we need to realize that you're absolutely right. But we're trained to think that taking care of ourselves means just taking care of the masculine. And part of what I think we're saying is in taking care of ourselves so that we can take care of women better, we need to take care of our feminine and masculine aspects and stop hating one or the other and just start to deal with ourselves holistically when we're crying as well as when we're winning a sport,
Dope, yeah. SoundMinds to that. SoundMinds to Lucy too. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you for
to everybody in the chat. We got one last chat to tap into.
Why are getting controversial?
Yeah, he says I think women are meant to serve and follow the lead of men. I'm an Israelite. That's how I see it. If you do a part 2, I want to hop on. Let me respond
you
just
can be
based
in the
off
comments
of
of part 2, Wagner, but you can't hop on part 2 of this because part 2 of this is women speaking. We're only going to be facilitating the women speaking. And if they ask us questions to get our opinions, then we're going to talk in. And I want you to be there for that too. If they challenge us with questions, La Bruja and Jessica. But part 2 of this is because it would
wait,
wait.
Just wait. Let's cut it short. Let's just respond to what he's saying. He says he thinks women are meant to serve and follow the lead of men. I am an Israelite. There is your upbringing. There is how you got that behavior. We talked about behaviors earlier, which is something that you learn. So that is something that you learn from being a Israelite. Okay, in your culture, in that world, it may work with your specific culture,
I
but
gotta say something.
at the same time, we as a if you we talking about energy and everything as a whole, the toxic masculinity
Yes,
aspect,
exactly.
the toxic masculinity aspect fits into exactly what you just said.
Yes.
Point blank period.
Because
And
my
Right.
and
father was an Israelite, and my father was a brilliant example in many ways of a king. And the most was my mother always felt like a queen when she was around him. You see, the thing is, my father, like you, might believe that women are meant to serve men to a degree. Like we talked about, all of these words are more important in context, and like my brother Ross said, energy, right? So it's not wrong to me with saying that women are meant to serve men. The problem is my father believed that he is meant to make a woman want to serve him. That's what he's meant to do as a king. She's not supposed to need to or want to serve you if you out here acting like trash. You get what I'm saying? So it's not even about what these books or religions or words are saying. It's how a king interprets these words and how a queen interprets these words. Does that mean that we fall back into being little boys instead of kings? Or does it mean I believe a woman should be doing this, and therefore I challenge myself to make her want to do this and enjoy it, right?
And I'm
Because if
and
she's
I'm
do that and she's not doing it, then we need to say, I'm not doing my job as a king. Not that
and
she's
I'm
supposed to do it regardless of how I'm acting.
but
I'm gonna
how is
take
what
I'm
you're
gonna take it
saying
a
right
step
now
further
condemns what he's saying? Like, how does that condemn that? Where's that aspect? Because it was more. Yeah,
because I
I'm
think
trying to
I think
understand.
Yeah,
what it
I don't
really boils
condemn
down
you.
to, what it really boils down to is, shout out to what's my man's name, when
Wagner,
Wagner.
Wadner. I'm sorry, I said
Wadner,
Wagner.
Wadner. So here's what I'll say. Wadner, peace to you, brother. Peace to all Israelites. Peace to all religions, right? I will
Shalom.
say, for the most part, like Rob was kind of saying, that is a learned behavior based off of the religion or based off of the belief, and that's totally understandable, right? But so is so many other things that have happened throughout history in which we just kind of feel like based off of what we're taught. What I will say is this: I don't think a woman or a queen should serve a man if you're talking in the sense of that's her job of serving. I think
Obligation.
if you're saying a woman should serve a man, what you should be saying is a couple should be serving each other. And I don't think that at any time, because of the difference in genitalia or the difference in who we come up to be, right? If anything, I think at all times, right? The game of chess, and I said this before, I'm getting real philosophical with this one,
Yeah.
but the game of chess, as I said before, the queen moves in every angle. Now, how you win the game is when you put the king in checkmate. But nonetheless, the queen has that power, right? So when we say a woman should serve a man, no, I don't agree with that. I don't. I shout out to you for what you believe in, but I don't agree with that. LiteSkin doesn't agree with that because I'm saying couples should serve each other. And what happens when you teach? And damn, we're getting very deep. But what happens when you teach a young lady who's 13, 15, 18 years old that she needs to serve her husband, and her husband starts taking advantage of that? So what you're doing is you're setting your own flesh and blood and daughter up for a certain type of mentality where she'll never see past, my job is to serve. So I'm not, it's a very
Hey, I
deeply
mean,
rooted
based off of
conversation.
what? Based off no, or just make it simple like this. How you just said, that we should serve each other.
Right,
Serving. Let's just put it in a basic serving.
right,
Serving each other some food. My
right.
woman should serve me some food every single time. She needs to be cooking all the time and serving me food. So now you ask that man that says that, the man that says that, the man that believes in that, and say, okay, you believe that she's serving you food all the time. So that means you don't serve her food. And he say, no. If
Right.
he that's a question for him. He can put it in the chat. If he says no, my response to that is then you want like or my response to that is similar to what Jessica Rivera said in the chat. You wonder why you're still single and having issues finding the queen or keeping that one that you got.
Y'all
So here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say.
Like, let me say one
And it's
thing.
not. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. So there's religion. There's also culture, and I don't want it to just seem like it's Israelite or but culturally speaking, Black and Latino women are known to cook food for hours, especially when you go to parties. Cook food for hours. They're cooking sometimes 2 days, in advance to have this meal ready. Once they're done cooking,
Gotta marinate it.
yeah, they marinated all that, right? Then once they're done cooking, they're hosting, they're doing a whole bunch of things, a slew of other things, cleaning the house, and then the male figures, whether it be sons or husbands or whatever it is, are then being served a hot plate of food after doing absolutely nothing, right? To make this meal come to fruition. So what I will say is,
Yo, brothers is getting stoned.
yeah, so what I will say is at the end of the day, all I can say is as I help to raise my daughters who are young queens, as I help to raise my daughters, all I can say is based off of religion or culturally, at the end of the day, if we're not teaching our young ones, I won't even say correctly, if we're not teaching our young ones righteously, how they should be living when they get older, then what we're doing is we're literally shooting them in the leg and say, hey, there you go run this marathon. Because what we're doing is we're setting up a whole other cycle of them now doing the exact same things that we see our parents do, that our wives are doing. And somewhere along the lines, we got to break that cycle. And there's no disrespect to any religion or any culture.
Or to decrease. Are we teaching
Right.
them to progress or digress? This is the last thing I want to say, y'all. And this is really inspired by y'all. This wasn't on my agenda. This is a question that I'm hoping that Jessica and La Bruja speak to next week. And hopefully, Wadna, you with us next week as well to hear more from the women. Because
Definitely.
ultimately, this would be hypocritical if we had this whole conversation about women as men and don't let the women take over the conversation next week. But this is what I want to say. And this is a question. I feel most joyful in my life and most fulfilled when the massage I put on my wife's back is right. When I cook up a dish or something, maybe some buffalo cauliflower that I get right, because my wife is bad. She'll let me know if it's right. When I cook it up in a way where she go, oh, she makes certain sounds, she makes certain gestures on her facial expression. That's when I feel most fulfilled. I have seen that. And I don't want to just make this about sexual relationships between men and women, because I feel like a lot of what we say could apply to women who are co-workers, men and women co-workers, men and women family members, and so forth. A lot of stuff Ross said about addressing them as full beings, addressing their emotions. It's not just because you're having a sexual relationship or their spouse. I want to be clear with that, right? So my question is, I feel fulfilled when I'm entertaining in public, and the women in the crowd, there's certain body language I'll see when they'll cross their legs and be turned away at the bar when certain dudes are performing. And then when I perform, they open up their body language. This isn't like, this could be like a daughter or a friend, someone who I could consider my daughter's friend, right? These aren't people I want to marry, but it's noticing women's body language. Am I making her feel safe in these spaces? I feel most fulfilled when I am serving women and seeing in their body language, not just the compliments they're giving, but in their body language and facial expression, he did whatever to make me feel good. I believe, and I could be wrong, and this kind of goes to Wadna's point, so I'm kind of agreeing with you, bro, in a sense. I don't know. I'd love to get the response. Here it goes. I believe up till now, in my prejudice, that women do, heterosexual women, do feel most fulfilled when they are acknowledged for what they're giving. For instance, working on a dish for 2 hours, having that hot meal, keeping the idiotic, toxically masculine energies from fighting each other, bringing a paper or a report like my daughter does to me, and having daddy acknowledge it and let her know and challenge her and be like, wow, that's amazing, I'm proud of you. Because I feel that as a man. Is it not true that some women do feel very fulfilled, and it might be one of the greatest joys when they do feel they're serving a man or woman, a family member, but just a loved one who deserves to be served? Because I certainly do.
I want to really just zone in on what you're saying and really just shout out to number one us, but the generations of people right now that of men right now that know they have daughters and now are showing them examples, right? Setting that foundation, because that is what's going on. It's not only us on this podcast, but there are a bunch of men out there that's also doing this. And this is why the next formal generation is definitely going to be different than what we are experiencing right now. You know what I mean? And I just want to zone in on that part and just say shout out to y'all. Keep on doing this. How we just express how to treat the queens. Take those gems and run with it. You know what I mean? It's time, because we in that. I feel like as men, it's time to now set the next level. You know what I mean? We in the transitioning level where, men is calling out other men. That means it's time for better men to come out of this. You know what I mean? The same thing that we in the crisis of everything else, where something better got to come out of this. We in the crisis of this. So we got to learn how to balance these energies within ourselves and learn how to, what do you say? Be compatible with your spouse and your queen, especially your queen. You know what I mean? We talking about the queen. So really.
And the queens you're raising.
And the queens that you're raising. Thank you.
The queens in your classroom.
Thank you. Queens
and I also
everything. Queens
all
around
that,
you.
Everything.
Your cousins, everything. This is the examples that we is trying to set, man. So sound minds to that, and sound minds to everybody out there.
And I want to say, thank everybody for being on here, Wadner. Thank you very much for your comment, brother. And I think the most powerful thing that we can do is show inclusion of all mindsets. So somebody who is in a very misogynistic type of relationship and so on and so forth, who feels a certain way, we don't ever thank you, Wadner, for expressing yourself and putting out what you feel, right? Again, we're not going to agree, but the most important thing and the beautiful sense of what SoundMinds is, and the powerful and strong sense of what SoundMinds is that we are inclusive of all, and we want to build. So by all means, brother Wadner, if you want to show up, next week we have La Bruja coming through, and we have Jessica Lynn Rivera coming through, and we're gonna build on what it means to be a king in the eyes of a queen. So Wadner, if you want to be there, brother, let's build, man. Let's keep building. So with that being said, y'all, SoundMinds, yo.
SoundMinds.
SoundMinds.